So I am very passionate about firsts. You know, people who are the first to accomplish something incredible. They could be the first in history, or they could be the first in their families, in their communities, their countries, their companies. It doesn't really matter if it's world history or personal history. Because either way, it takes guts. It takes courage to stand up to critics, especially your own inner critic. And it takes passion and persistence to charge towards goals when there aren't necessarily examples around you to follow. It's for this reason that one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what are you the first to do? Or what will you be the first to do? I find that everyone has a different and unique story attached to their answer. And sometimes, when you're sharing what you're the first to do in your family, don't be surprised if someone else says, "Me too." Because being a first is also an identity that unites us. So today, I would like to share what I am the first to do with all of you, and then use that question to explore your passions. Along the way, I will share 3 lessons that I've picked up about pursuing your passion. So, what am I the first to do? I'm the first in my family to graduate from university. Now, this isn't uncommon. I'm sure that many of you are also first-generation graduates, or will be. Am I right? Any cheers from the first-generation graduates? All right, awesome. So I am from the suburbs of New Jersey, just about an hour outside of New York City. And my parents and grandparents, after they finished high school, went straight into the workforce. They had jobs ranging from office work to doing inspections, working in the post office, custodial work. And while they enjoyed aspects of their jobs, for sure, they wouldn't have called them their passion. It was just a paycheck. Their passion was really taking care of their families. So when I was a kid, they would always ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, because they told me that I would have a college degree, and I could use that to do almost anything I wanted. They had worked really hard to set me up for success, and they were invested in my future. They wanted me to be happy, to have a job that when the alarm clock went off in the morning, I would wake up excited to go to work, that I wouldn't count down the hours until the end of the day, or that I wouldn't dread Mondays. So it took me until I was in high school to figure out what I wanted to do. What did I want to use this launch pad that they had built for me for? I decided that since I was good at writing, I would be a journalist. I wanted to work for a newspaper or magazine covering really hard topics, tough subjects. And one of my earliest articles was about gang violence in my community. So given these serious aspirations that I had, it was a little surprising where I wound up after I graduated from university. Because you see, despite being very shy in high school, having never gone to a single dance in high school or college, I wound up being employed by the most popular teen magazine, 17, in the role of prom website editor. I worked in this world of poofy dresses and tulle and sequins and sparkles. And at first, it definitely seemed a little too superficial for me. But the magazine industry in New York City is very competitive, and this was my foot in the door. I was a reporter, so I knew how to ask questions and figure out what I didn't know. And I came to really enjoy giving girls the confidence, the boost of confidence they needed, the kind of confidence I didn't have myself when I was their age. And more importantly, because it was my job to relaunch the website and rebrand it, I was learning basically entrepreneurship 101. I got to work across all different teams with video producers, developers, designers, writers, even the advertising and marketing teams. So I learned the business side of media. And I became really passionate about that, about being an entrepreneur. And that led me to my first lesson, which is realizing that you can create passion. It's not always going to be apparent in the job descriptions that you come across, especially in the beginning of your career. A lot of jobs are going to look boring or mundane, even superficial. But you have to give them a chance, because you have a lot to learn right after you graduate from university. And if you pass up those opportunities, you'll never give yourself the chance to discover where your strengths are, discover new skills you didn't realize that you had. And if you don't master this lesson of creating passion wherever you land, then you'll never get to lesson number 2, which is the really good one. That is that passion leads you down unexpected paths. So I'd like you to think of a hike that you've been on. You know those big, beautiful vistas that you see at the top of the mountain and that you take pictures of and post on Instagram. You don't see this at the outset of the trail. No, you have to spend hours going through these windy pathways, wooded, lots of trees, that kind of all looks the same. The only way you find out where you're going is by following these trail markers. And I liken that to the skills that you pick up in your first couple of jobs. Those are the trail markers. Those are the breadcrumbs leading you along to an opportunity and a dream that is bigger than you can imagine right now. So for me, my second year in that prom job, I guess I was good enough at it that my boss asked me if I'd like to do something else, if I'd like to launch a second prom website, this one called Donate My Dress. And it would be a website where girls who couldn't afford dresses could find ones for free, because women who have a bunch of formal dresses in their closets that they don't wear anymore could find these locations to drop them off at. That was a turning point for me, because I had this aha moment. The reason that I did is I haven't told you yet, but by day, while I was a prom editor, by nights and weekends, I was doing something else. And I was actually that serious part of me. I was volunteering for a foundation that was helping kids in Liberia in West Africa. I had written about this organization as a college journalist, and now as a volunteer, I was helping them with their programs to educate kids who had been abandoned or orphaned by the war and to meet their basic needs. This is when my passion for the skill sets, those entrepreneurial skill sets I was developing, started to mix with this global issue that I really cared about, of gender and education inequality. And in that moment, an idea came to me called She's the First. And I was thinking how, sure, there are girls who don't have dresses to go to prom, but what about all of the girls who don't even have an education? There are more than 50 million girls of secondary school age who aren't able to go to school. So I crafted She's the First as an online campaign that 3 years later became my full-time job, and today it's a global nonprofit organization. We provide scholarships to girls who will be the first in their families to graduate from high school. We also have a big campus chapter movement at over 200 schools across the US and the UK, all doing advocacy on behalf of girls like Mariama from Sierra Leone. These are girls who, when they graduate, are going to be in the powerful position to break cycles of generational poverty. Because when they graduate, they earn a higher income that they reinvest back into their families and the community. Mariama from Sierra Leone is going to be leading her country forward, which just a couple years ago was devastated by the Ebola crisis. Two of our other scholars are Vicentina and Sinfarosa from Peru. They just graduated in December. If it wasn't for the scholarship they had, they wouldn't have been able to attend a boarding school, because otherwise their families live high up in those mountains, and the nearest high school is a several hours walk away. To date, She's the First has raised nearly $4 million, and we're supporting over 800 scholars just like these three across 11 different countries. I could have never imagined when I was a prom editor that I would ever make it to this point of being able to do for my job something that gives me so much purpose and that I'm so passionate about. And this leads me on to my third and final passion point, which is that you find passion in helping others. And that's what She's the First has really taught me. It's now been a decade since I became a first-generation university graduate. But I've only recently started reflecting on how my parents' and grandparents' passion to support first-generation graduates, my sister and I, is very much the same as my passion today in supporting first-generation graduates around the world. And I think that's kind of funny. You may relate to it, how you think you're so different from older generations, only to find out you're actually very much the same. She's the First has taught me to look at firsts in a different light. And there's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that I wanted to share with you because I think it expresses this point best of all. He said, "Keep feeling the need for being first, but I want you to be first in love. I want you to be first in moral excellence. I want you to be the first in generosity." Think about it, the simple actions that you can take to support someone else in being a first. What if you thought about your passion as not only what made you happy, but also what could help others? So for instance, if you are the first in your family to graduate from university, think of how you can mentor a younger student who's following a similar trajectory, or how you can contribute to a scholarship fund. Maybe you're the first in your family to start a business. You can incorporate giving back into your business model. You can donate a percentage of the proceeds or of your time, offering skills and services to those in need. Or maybe you're not literally the first to do something in your family because you're following the family business. And that's okay. Build on something that's already been a success and use it to make a bigger impact on the planet and on people in your local and global communities. If there's one thing that you take away from this talk, one thing that you tweet out into your networks, let it be this: never underestimate your ability to make someone else a first. You could be the first person to support them and believe in their dreams. And that will matter 100 years from now. It will matter throughout the rest of their lives. So now that you know what I'm the first to do, I would love to hear your answers. You can tweet at me or come find me after and tell me, or if you're watching this on video later, leave a comment, because I'm ready to cheer you on. Thank you.